What makes people laugh? Well, generally speaking, jokes make people laugh. Oxford Languages describes a joke as something that someone says to cause laughter or amusement, particularly a story with a funny punchline. Now, I always thought I was quite a funny guy, to be honest. And so, when I was leaving my old school, and my friends asked me if I was worried about going somewhere new, I said, worried? Of course I'm not worried. I'm a funny guy. People always get on with funny guys. So I got to my new school, and I did what I always do. I made jokes. The only difference is the jokes I was making were being received like this. Just a long, painful, awkward silence. And when your defining personality trait falls away, you have an internal crisis. You try and understand why it's not working. So I kid you not, I was writing down things I was saying that weren't being received well, telling them to my old friends who would find them hilarious. And that got me thinking, well, what makes something funny? Well, generally, a joke involves a setup and a punchline. The setup would be something like, why does the chicken cross the road? And the punchline would be, to get to the other side. And then I started thinking of more complex jokes. And a friend of mine, he got a bit of flack for a joke he told. He was with a group of friends and somebody said, I don't think you should ever make a joke about 9/11. And my friend said, I agree, my cousin died in 9/11. The other person went, really? And my friend said, yeah, he was the best pilot Al-Qaeda had ever seen. Now, the setup of that joke is that his cousin died in 9/11, and the punchline is that he was the pilot. And what's meant to make it funny is the suspension of disbelief. He has the listener think he's going to go in one direction when in reality he goes in another one. But why was that joke so divisive? Why did some people find it horribly offensive while others found it utterly hilarious? I think it's because of the premise of the joke. It's about an international tragedy. And some people think that there are certain topics that you can never joke about, whereas others think you can joke about most things as long as it's done in the right way. And then other people try and split it up further. Only gay people can make jokes about gay people, only black people can make jokes about black people, only Muslims can make jokes about Muslims. And I feel that as a society, we're becoming more and more socially and politically divided than we ever have been. And that when people try and split up who can make these jokes, they lose sight of why they're doing it. They're trying to restrict jokes because you're trying to stop people getting upset. Whether you think that's an unachievable goal or an achievable goal, it's what you're trying to do. And if a joke is genuinely designed to harm or oppress another group of people, then maybe that joke shouldn't be said. But if people are just trying to have a laugh, why cut them down? Shouldn't the goal be to maximize human joy? We've all done it, whether it's make a joke about a bomb at an airport or make light of death. Just because something's inappropriate doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Under regimes like the Nazis and the Soviet Union, the population were oppressed. They were told what they could and couldn't joke about. Do we really want a system like that? Of course not. We want to spread as much joy as possible. So, what is the point? What am I trying to get at? My point is, if you hear a joke and you write it off as offensive immediately, just because about the controversial topic, maybe stop and think, is the joke offensive or is it just a topic? And likewise, if you keep making jokes and no one's laughing, maybe stop making those jokes. At the end of the day, isn't the point of making jokes to make people laugh?